Okay, here's everything you need to know about scheduling messages to appear on the board at some later time. Um, First thing you need to do is define the message that you want displayed at some later time. So we're just going to go to our usual new message form. And one thing that you might not often do is click here to define only. In other words, don't change what's currently displayed on the board. And pick a message number, something you can put aside. Message number 1, and type in your message. I'm going to do something that will prove to me that I'm looking at a current message when I do this. April 10, 3:17 p.m. is my current time. Submit that message. I like the preview, so I'll submit again. Wait for the board to update. Message definition successful. Message board itself is still blank because all I did is define, not activate. And now I can look at my stored messages. And I can see that C001 is what I just defined, and then I have a bunch of others predefined from some other time. I'm going to go into the Schedule tab now. The most important thing in a schedule is the time zone of the board. Nothing else will work if the time zone on the board is wrong. So here we have to define the time zone where the board really is, where we want this schedule to make sense time-wise. Having done that, we can see that we have a calendar here with days of the week and times that go all day, basically. And we can see that we have two calendars. So I can look at two predefined schedules. Get into that a bit more later, but for now we just want to do a simple case of defining a message that will happen basically now. So it's Friday. I'm going to define a new event that will happen Friday. And it's 3:17-ish for me here, so I'm going to define the message that will have started a while ago to prove that if I miss my window for some reason, I'll keep trying. So let's say that this message should have started at 3 p.m., which is 20 minutes ago. And let's say that it should end at 4 p.m. No, let's say that let's stick with 4 p.m. for now. And I can define the start and end message. Usually the end message is just going to be blank, so that's my default. The start, kind of an arbitrary default there, because I have no idea what you'll want. I'm going to say that start is going to be C001 that I just defined, and I can say that blank is what happens at the end, but I can also just for fun say that when that period of time ends, in other words at Friday at 4 o'clock, I want message C14 to be displayed rather than blank. Blank is just a good default. And I'm going to submit that. And if I go over to this time slot, I can see my message definition. And when I hover over it, I can see a tooltip that shows me the beginning and the end message and some information on when it'll be. And I can see the time here and the title of the event, which is always going to be start message ... end message. If I scroll up a bit, I can see another message activation successful message has arrived here, notification, and that's because the schedule just activated itself. And if I go over here, indeed I can see message C01 is being displayed, and it's what I expect it to be. I have a blinky star here, which means two things. First of all, the star means that a schedule is defined, and the blinking means there's currently an event, a scheduled event in progress. Now, when 4 o'clock rolls around, what's going to happen is I'll get another update, and this will go and show the other message that I defined as the end message. If communication fails during the time of activating a new message, I'll just keep trying as long as it's in that window. So if I had a failure just now, and if it went on for a long time, I'll just keep trying until about 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, I'll give up trying. You'll get an email if you're signed up for alerts. You'll get an email or an SMS alert, whatever you're signed up for, telling you that I'm having trouble activating the message. That email will come out after I fail for 3 minutes. But then I keep trying. And then if I succeed in communicating with the board after some time, and I've already sent you a failure message, I'll send you a failure recovery message saying that I've succeeded in activating the message after so many attempts. And that's that, so you're all done. So that's basically all there is to the simple case. Now, the interesting thing about the way the scheduling works is that this schedule will repeat on a weekly basis. So every Friday at 3 o'clock this is going to happen. And I can define any number of messages, any place on the calendar, and they'll just happen on that day at that time over and over again until I stop something. We can modify a message by clicking on it, and we'll just see that screen again. We can see here that a message can go on for multiple days. And so I can change this message to end at Saturday at 4 o'clock. And here it is, you can see it overlapping the days. Okay, let's get back to the toSchedule issue. We have two tabs here. One where we've already entered one event, and we have another one here, another schedule, another calendar that has nothing on it yet. I can enter an event in my other schedule, just pretty much anything for these purposes. And two things happen. First of all, the event appears where I wanted it to appear, and I have a little notice here that says that my two schedules overlap. So the only way that having two schedules really makes sense is if you limit them to certain dates. So I can say that the schedule that I entered earlier ends on April 1st, and the schedule that I just entered now starts on April 2nd, and that overlap notice goes away. So I can limit my schedules in the beginning date or in the end date as long as what you do makes sense and there's no overlap. You won't get that notice and you'll be fine. If you do have overlapping schedules, they're both going to happen and they will clobber each other, so you probably want to avoid that. To make a schedule open-ended after you've already entered a date, just go in here, highlight everything and backspace over it, and that makes your schedule open-ended again. And because this schedule is now open-ended, meaning it begins at the beginning of time, even though this one ends on April 1st, we have technically an overlap. And I can also remove the overlap condition by just deleting this event. And since there are no events on the second schedule, there's no overlap. So if you ever have enough knowledge ahead of time to begin a new schedule before the project actually needs it, you can do it that way. One last thing you can do with schedules is to create a schedule for one board and then clone it over to another board. And the way to do that is just by hitting this Clone Schedules button. So having done to my schedule whatever I need to do to it, it's all good. Now I have 15 other boards to copy it to. I hit my Clone button, and then I pick boards out of this list to copy to. And I think that in this case I want to copy my schedule over to device 2 and device group 1, which is that guy, and I'll submit that. And it does a couple of things. It clones the schedule itself, meaning copies the calendar information, and it also clones, as you can see here in the second notice that took a bit longer to pop up, it clones the messages themselves. That means if I copy the schedule over to another board, it will also copy, in this case, message C1 and C14, so that that board has the same C1 and C14 that I have here. So basically it's a one-click operation. You pick your board, you hit clone, and all the messages and all the times and schedules will be copied over. And we can see that now by going back to our message boards list, looking at this board, which is the one we just copied to. And you can see I have a schedule here. I could have shown earlier that there was no schedule here, but take my word for it. And now you can see here that that event that we defined for Friday and Saturday is here. It's got the right information on it. You can see it's got the right beginning message and the right end message. It was copied over successfully. We can verify that further by going into our changeable messages here and seeing that these two were copied over. So really just a one-click operation to copy a schedule, including its messages, to any number of boards. Let me see if there's anything else we need to talk about. I think that's basically it. So we have everything we need to know about schedules here. Enjoy it. The end.